What's going on, everyone? Wait a couple of seconds here till some people start popping on. Got a couple of things I just want to cover very quickly, giving you guys a couple of seconds to get in here. Yeah, it's going to be a quick video, but I think it's important that I go over these things while they're still fresh in my head. Of course, I'm going to put some things together when I get back home. So anyway, family, I'm over here in South Africa, Cape Town, and my wife and I, walking from the waterfront, came into an area where there was these signs called unsettled. And all the signs displayed white South Africans and some of the quote unquote hard times or rough times they're essentially going through. Now, I misquoted myself on one of my videos stating that the population of South Africa was 40-60, meaning that the population was 40% white and 60% Black. Well, that's absolutely wrong. I was totally off with my numbers. The population family is 80% Black, 8% white, 8% or 3% Indian, and also 8% color, meaning people who are considered Black and white, kind of the same way we have it, right? But we don't have the different labeling like they do, but they actually count the mixed people, the mulattoes, the colors, as they call them, as a different demographic. Now, as we were walking, we was about a 20 or 30-minute walk back from the waterfront to our hotel. We ran into some of these signs, and I want to show you the first one here. That's going to kind of give you guys context so you know exactly what I'm getting at here, because we have to go over these signs. They were just so mind-boggling, of the white South Africans, or the Afrikaners as they call them. Now, as we're looking at this, I'll read this to you. I know it's small on your screen. I'm gonna see if I can blow it up a little bit here. It says, Unsettled is a project that explores white South African histories, privileges, and reflections on identity. Every nation has a past and must confront in order to see their present clearly and to imagine a different future. I grew up just as apartheid came to an end. Ever since starting primary school, I've been told that I'm a child of the Rainbow Nation. The end of apartheid was signaled by a great gesture for forgiveness and hope, one that must have seemed at the time to transcend the decades of violent oppression. Many white people seem to have taken the release of Nelson Mandela and the platforms for redemption and healing under the Truth and Reconciliation Commission as absolution. It was not absolution. As South Africa struggles to come to terms with persistent social and racial inequality, the project seeks to urge participants and audience to examine their historical and future roles within a landscape marked by deep social scars. Now, family, the reason why I had to give you guys the population, because the citizens of South Africa is only 8%. Now, I don't know the many businessmen that are non-citizens that are here, because we saw, when we was at the waterfront, family, it was 98% white people at the waterfront. Now, I understand that's a tourist area. That's what a lot of people, we saw people from Canada, of course, people from all over the world in South Africa, but majority of them were white. Okay, we saw some Indian folk, we saw some Middle Eastern folk, but majority of them were white. And when we started to go around and asking people who owned the businesses, even the hotel that I'm currently in at one of the Marriott's, white people. Now, not all of these white people are necessarily South African, but I can tell you this, majority of the businesses, especially these very, very large businesses, are owned by white people. And I'm going to do a tape where I'm going to show you a conversation I had with a cab driver. I might pop that up during this video, depending. I'm on my wife's computer right now. I didn't even bring my computer. My phone has been on the fritz since I've been here. But nonetheless, of all this white splaining of these white South Africans and some of the quote unquote rough times that they're essentially going through. But again, family, I'm going to show you here, because it's very, very important, of some of the things that they're stating. And they put this out in the open, in public, for anyone and everyone to read. Like, you gotta see this, family. Let me go to the next one here. Let me go to the next one. Here we go. Now, here's a gentleman. Here's one of the signs. Shaka actually said the whites are going to come over the sea and take your country. It is a fact. It happened. Now, listen to this mess. I am 60. I was born in Zululand. This is my place. Umgungu means the foam on top of the waves of the sea. I understand why they call us that. That is where we came from. We came out of the sea on boats. Shaka actually said the whites are going to come over the sea and take your country. It is a fact. It happened. I've been in the military for 20 years. I've been to places. I didn't do anything wrong. Listen to this. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't regret being there. Personally, it has nothing to do with apartheid. We did what we had to do. Okay. Now, family, if you guys are not familiar with apartheid, now he said we did what we had to do. Okay, that is downright evil, what he said. He said, I don't believe we did nothing wrong. And there he is with some sort of tribal head necklace around his head and bracelets, and then a South African flag behind him with his little Shih Tzu dog in his lap. Okay. Now, for you guys who are not familiar with apartheid, apartheid is closely related to Jim Crow and as well as slavery in some regards. Now, here it gives a basic definition what apartheid is, because it lasted for essentially 20 years. Apartheid or apartness, okay, in the language of the Afrikaners, and people who call themselves Afrikaners are 99.9% white. Okay, Afrikaners, Boers, Zoekers, all of these are names that the white South Africans in their different tribes give themselves. So apartheid simply means apartness. It states that, and I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but I believe you can. It states that was a system of legislation that upheld segregation against non-white citizens of South Africa. After the National Party gained power in South Africa in 1948, its all-white government immediately began enforcing existing policies of racial segregation. So for a long time, the whites have been controlling, the politics here in South Africa, as well as the businesses. I don't believe any big businesses in South Africa are owned by any of the Black South Africans. They have a high rate of poverty, and they're 80% of the population. Now, the reason why I kind of want to show you this video later on with this broadcast, family, is because I spoke to a cab driver and I say, hey, do you support or do you agree with Julius Malema and the EFF political party? He said, well, no, I'm not agree with his views because he's talking about violence. I said, well, anytime in history that anyone took land, resources that they couldn't negotiate on, they took it by force. And you guys are 80% of the population. And you just stated that you have a high rate of poverty amongst the Black South Africans. And let me tell you this, family, I don't know if it exists that there's a white homeless person in South Africa. If it is, I haven't seen them. Okay, I know I've only been here a day. So please, in the comment section, rip me a new one. Okay, because maybe you know something I don't know, but I'm going to be here for quite some time. I'm going to make sure that I get a lot of video coverage. I'm going to try to cut down the videos while I'm here because I'm going to focus on just getting small clips and then I can bring those things together. But this was very important today because my wife and I, as we was coming over in first class, we kept getting looked at very strangely, not by the staff. We flew Qatar, not by the staff, but by the people in first class, right? Because we were the only Black people in class. Okay, so we felt some sort of racial tension, like, oh, how are you guys affording this? Like, you don't belong here. I'm not stating that's what they said, but again, coming from a system of white supremacy in America, you can just feel the negative energy that we were feeling in first class. Okay, so let me move on. Where am I at? All right, here we go. So he now let me finish what this guy is stating. He said, you know, we didn't do anything wrong. And I told you what apartheid was, right? He said we did what we had to do. Yeah, we had to come over here. We had to kill the black folk. We had to take control of their governments. We ran their economy. We extracted and exhausted their resources: blood, diamonds, gold, magnesium, iron, you name it. They did it, family. Okay. Those days you were forced to go do your national service, and I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it. He loved it. He loved putting Black people under a system of oppression. He loved killing and brutalizing, okay, and terrorizing Black folk in their own country. He enjoyed it. That's what he's saying right here. He said, I don't think there are ghosts. The youngsters today, it is more than 20 years since the end of apartheid. If you can't improve your situation, there's nobody stopping you from improving yourself anymore. You can't say it's apartheid stopping you. You can go to school, you can go to the university, you can go to work, you can do whatever you want with it in that time. I just believe that for some people, it is hard to forget to put the past behind them. Family, who does he sound like? Who does he sound like? He sounds just like the white supremacists in America, stating that Jim Crow and slavery was such a long time ago, and there's no one stopping you from bettering yourself. Because here's the thing, the people who were left here, how can I, I'm trying to make sure I'm being politically correct here, family, so bear with me. The white people who have been here for generations came over from mostly from the country of the Netherlands, the Dutch, right? And so you get a lot of this weird language, the Afrikaner language. You hear terms like boa and zoekers and things of that nature. And they're basically the descendants of the Netherlands people, and they come from the Dutch, okay? Um, so when he stated these things, that he enjoyed his military service and that he was doing, he did what he had to do. Again, this is another form of white splaining, that he has to put Black people under subjugation and control in order for their countrymen to live a better life here. And again, family, even to this day, the white influence on the ANC party, from what I'm gathering, is still prevalent, even though there's a dark melanated Black African president. But the ANC is the African National Congress, which is a social political party, but it's being controlled by the business class, which is majority white here in South Africa. It's pretty rough here once you learn the politics and the business of it all. And when you go down to the waterfront, one of the most prestigious and most economical, stable places here in South Africa, especially Cape Town, you start realizing where all the wealth is. All the Black people are in servitude, all in servitude position. I have not seen not one white person serve anybody, okay? I've seen them as managers, and that's about it. I haven't seen them as security guards. I'm pretty sure there's some white coppers, maybe some detectives and police. I can't say that. But from my anecdotal, very, very short experience, this is what I'm seeing. Of course, as I travel the country more, I'm pretty sure I will see more, and I will definitely let you guys and keep you guys informed on that, okay? Someone says here, by the way, there's a sundown town in South Africa. I don't know. Sounds like white supremacy in America. Yeah, the Black South Africans have and are experiencing some of the same things we do in America. Not at the same magnitude as far as gun violence with police, but the oppression, the racial disparities, family. Majority of the Blacks here are in poverty. Okay, and like I said, I may share that small video clip with the cab driver, because I think that's very important, because it shows you that, take for instance, Americans, right? Black Americans. We don't have any military power because we don't have our own military, right? Because the the British settlers, or the British murderers, whatever you want to call them, came over and took the land from the Native Americans and also the Black Aboriginal people that were there. And they have forever built an empire in America, right? But these people here, who are majority of the population, who are the majority of the military force, somehow cannot eradicate and take back the land that centuries before them have already put in place a white power structure in order for their descendants to stay in power and to stay rich. I mean, it's night and day. When we were coming from the airport in Cape Town, on one side of the road, we saw a lot of shanty towns. We saw a lot of sheet metal homes. And then on the right side of the street, we saw built up homes. And I don't need to tell you who was living on what side of the street, okay? So let me move on here, family. Let me move on. All right, here we go. Here's another one. I found that it was very hard to find someone who had voted for the National Party. If nobody voted for them, how the hell did they get in? How in the hell did they get in? We came here in 1964. I didn't want to come. I had been boycotting South Africa before that. I wanted to go to Canada. He wanted to come to South Africa. We moved with our 3 babies just after the Sharpeville massacre. I found that it was very hard to find someone who had voted for the National Party. If nobody voted for them, how the hell did they get in? Human beings are just prejudiced people. They're found something to be charged against, and usually is without any real thinking. Helen Suzman Party, because I believe in justice. She was a lone voice in the wilderness like John the Baptist. People who say they never had a choice, they didn't know what was going on, is not true. Okay, it is more white splaining, fam. We're going to go through these things. Listen to this. I have survived unspeakable, brutal violence in this country. And as a result, I've given myself permission to leave. She states here, let me blow this up for us. I have survived unspeakable brutality, violence in the country. I've given myself permission to leave, but I belong here. This is where my roots are. This is where my relationships are. This is where I am woven into. I'm not woven anywhere else. It's actually just that simple, because I chose to say I have a responsibility and a desire to make things better. I feel like we all do, and whatever we are available to us, it starts with reflecting on our way of being and how we relate with one another. There are things not within my power to change, and that's okay, but I need to do what I can do, no more, no less, and that ripples wherever it ripples, okay? It is going to get deeper, family. It's going to get deeper, I assure you. Listen to this guy, right? He looked like he had the tribal dress on. And I don't know, I don't want to call it a dress. I'll just say tribal garments on. Okay, he states here, I work damn hard for my money. How many times have you heard white people say that? Like, Black people don't work hard for their money, right? But it's easier because I am white. Uh-oh, did he just spill the beans? I work damn hard for my money, but it's easier because I am white. You have an unfair starting block without a ball and chain, right? He said, I was born in Durban in 1969. I am Twaza, a trainee. I speak Zulu, and I'm learning to speak Xhosa. I've been told many times walking in different circles by traditional leaders that this should be my path, but I brush it off. Maybe if I didn't live in the Eastern Cape, I would not be following the Sangoma traditional leader path. Perhaps I'll be doing something else. A lot of what the ancestors are asking us to do is complete things that have never finished in the realm. Horsback is definitely still a white enclave, and I feel more aligned to the Xhosa people on the mountain. He's talking about the people who, in some regards, they use a clicking sound. Xhosa people, I forgot they speak Xhosa. Okay, the language is Xhosa, and they have 15 consonants that are considered clicks. Okay, and the clicks have different sounds. They're not the Sand people. Okay, I don't want you guys to get them confused with the Sand people. The Sand people are the originators, or the Bush people are the originators of the click language. Now, it states here, especially going to all the different traditional ceremonies, we are already 24 years into the new democracy, and not much has changed. Listen to that. Not much has changed. The scars of the homeland are still present, and there are frontier wars and English coming and burning all the fields. It's really hard, and it's mostly the Xhosa people in the region feeling those scars. Okay, so he's kind of laying down because he feels like he's one of the people. So he feel like he has to tell the story from his white perspective because he believes he's, a quota people. He says there is such a imbalance of understanding and empathy for the people who work in our homes on a daily basis. Listen to this. Did you guys catch that? This is such an imbalance of understanding and empathy for the people who work in our homes on a daily basis. What they actually go through. White privilege is horrific. I sit here with it. I work damn hard for my money, but it is easy because I am white. You have an unfair starting block without a ball and chain. I went to a good school, had a good education. I feel like I've been in South Africa. I'm a third generation born here. I think it's a place where we can live closely together, but we need to be more understanding of one another's situation. We really need to have people in this country who want to build it and make it a better place. Okay. Hey, this is from the horse's mouth, family. The next generation are picking up the remaining elements of the white homology with assumed sense of superiority and white living conditions. The idea, listen to this, the idea that you come into the non-racist society as you are, you do not shed who you are. You do not share the aspect that constitute you as somebody with a history, with a culture, with a present that is particular. So if non-racism is seen as a powerful instrument for destroying the instruments of political and legal apartheid, I think South Africa has been spectacularly successful. But if non-racism means eliminating a race as an element in public life that keeps people apart, that creates suspicion or pain or anger, than it has been for less successful. The next generations are picking up the remaining elements. Okay, blah, blah, blah. There is no one size fits all in relation to anything in South Africa. Everything is jumbled up and mixed up. When the shackles of overt racism fall, the pinpricks of covert racism hurts unbearably. And family, this continues on. I'm not going to bore you with every single story, okay? But there are some ones I do want to pick out, like this guy here, okay? A lot of these need to get awards. I think if we as white South Africans have a historical debt to pay, then everybody that was connected to the slave trade has a debt to pay, a conscious emotional debt. And what's funny about this is, in some regards, people have been talking that the South Africans, the Black South Africans, supposed to be getting reparations from the colonizers, right? From those descendants who are still living and still have control over the Black South Africans, okay? So that's what he was referring to. He goes on to say here, family, it was hugely presumptuous of Livingstone and Stanley King Leopard in particular to use the idea of primitive people with no class. Listen to this. He called them primitive. To use the idea of a primitive people with no class or no culture that need to be saved from themselves. It is just so ridiculous. We are still suffering from that in Africa, with the idea of the dark continent still prevalent. It started with those early missionaries and explorers. He's absolutely right. It started with slavery. That stigma is still attached to Africa. I think if we as white South Africans have a historical debt to pay, then everybody that was connected to the slave trade has a debt to pay, a conscious emotional debt. No, you have money to pay. You have money to pay, sir. There's no emotional debt. There's no emotional debt. Just like the oppressors in America, you have a debt to pay. Okay. There's no, I never heard of emotional debt. What are you going to do with emotional debt? What I'm going to do with emotional debt? I'm going to cry about it. You're going to hug about it. You're going to kiss about it. What are you going to do? No. Majority of the Black South Africans live in poverty. That's not because they don't work hard. I see Black people here working all over the place, working their butts off for pennies on a dollar, but they don't own anything. They own absolutely nothing. Okay. So let's not get too mixed up. And I'm just going to read what she has on the left here. I suppose the only glimmer of hope on the horizon is that we as whites only make up 8% of the population. So we are becoming increasingly irrelevant, as you should. As you should. And I don't mean as people. They should become irrelevant as people. But here's the thing. your ancestors did a great wrong. And unfortunately, some of the pressure is falling on you. I know some people may say, well, the son shouldn't pay the sins of the father. But when you look at this 8% family, do you know this 8% is the wealthiest class in Africa? The 8% of the white citizens here? And family, when I'm telling you that they own majority of the businesses, it reminds me of last year when I went to Ghana. Family, when I went to Ghana, oh my gosh, Ghanaian people make up over 90% of the population in Ghana. But the power and the business class was broken up between the Chinese, the Italians, the Lebanese, the Indians, right? Because this is kind of way it works in Ghana to a certain degree. The Chinese has built up the infrastructure, mining. They're also building a port over there in Ghana. I don't know if it's a naval port, but I know it's going to be a trading port that Ghana has given the Chinese land. I think they gave them almost 70,000 acres where they can actually build a town and a city right there at the port. The Lebanese owns a lot of the malls as well as the restaurants in Ghana, especially the Accra area. I can't speak too much to Kumasi because I did not go. I went to Accra. The Italians own majority of the real estate in Ghana, okay? And the Indians own a lot of businesses as well as Mars as well. So in these dark melanated African countries, they do not have control of their politics in some regards, even though they have black faces in some places, right? And they damn sure don't control the economy. They have other people in their economy that's benefit off their economy. And the only jobs that the citizens can get are servitude jobs, not ownership jobs, not jobs that can create other businesses out of this. The same thing goes for South Africa from my 2-hour research and some studying that I did prior to. Okay, let me move on. I got a couple more here for you. Okay, now this one was shocking. Okay, this one, this is from a 16-year-old. She said, I can stay here and face what I have inherited, or I can go to America and face everything there. There is nowhere I can run to. I am 16 and I live in Cape Town my whole life. My mother is American. My father was born here. I feel a big responsibility because I am white. There are things I need to change. I feel a big responsibility when people are crying out to be heard. I need to seek them out and listen to them and hear them. I must draw people into the wealth that I have inherited and the land that I have inherited. Family. This is where we're talking about generational wealth. This is what we're talking about, generational wealth. And this is why a lot of people don't agree with some of the rhetoric that Julius Malema and the economic freedom fighters, because he wants to go through the logs. He wants to go through the ledgers and give the Black people back their historical lands. And that means stripping those white people who've probably had that land in their family for, 100 years, but nonetheless, it was wrongfully taken, okay, by force and by oppression. He wants to right the wrong. That's exactly what he do. And what he's have fallen into is that the only way to get this done is by force. The only way to get this done is by force, because if my memory serves me correctly, he used to be a part of the ANC. But he broke away from the ANC and he started the EFF. And under the EFF, he has over 1 million followers on the EFF. And believe it or not, family, I tend to side with Julius Malema more so than any other political party in South Africa. This is very important, okay? This is very important. I am not condoning violence, but he says something very powerful. He says something to the point where the only way that we're going to be able to do this, we have to make radical legislation that is backed by enforcement, right? That's backed by enforcement. and willing to pay for them tickets to go to their European countries. But let me continue, because what she's stating is the minds of some of these people here, right? And she's only 16. So we see how many generations down that this has really contaminated the minds of the white people here. She states here, I must draw people in into the wealth that I've inherited and the land that I've inherited. It hits me how little I have to do for what I have. You heard what she said? Look at the indignation, okay, and the arrogance in her talking. She states here, it hits me how little I have to do for what I have. And if you notice in her picture, she goes to a private school. In terms of historical debt, we cannot put a numerical value on it. White South Africans need to do that. Share wealth, share land, listen to others, being humble. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of white people escaping South Africa to England and Australia, as you should, in my opinion. I don't want to do that. I have a responsibility to be here. It will be scary, but we have to face up to the past. Otherwise, nothing is going to change. Also, where would I go? I can stay here and face what I haven't heard it, or I can go to America and face everything there. There is nowhere I can run to. Basically, she's stating, like, I'm not leaving the land and wealth that my family has built for me here and oppressing these Black people. I can care less. I'm not going nowhere. I'm willing to fight, die right here in my wealth. And that's how a lot of them are, all 8% of them. But again, very, very powerful 8% family. Very, very powerful 8%, okay? Let me move on. Let me see here. You can sit in restaurants in Cape Town and think to yourself, what island between Europe and Antarctica is this? What strange place this is? I said the same thing today. I was on a waterfront eating at a restaurant, right? And all the people who were working there were white. Were Black. And all the customers were white, with one exception, my wife and I. And as you go up and down the waterfront, majority of the patrons inside of the restaurants are white. Very, very, very few. You saw some of the people, the customers were Black, but very, very few. Okay, very, very few. Let me move on, because I think I'm still gonna. Okay, I think that was it. I think I covered pretty much everybody, their family. I had to email myself that. Okay. Now I'm gonna try to find for you guys. I see some of your notes over here. Let me go back. Here we go. I see I got Jermaine Anderson in the room. Nice to see you, sir. White people own global businesses too, as well. There are white homeless South African, but it doesn't take away from the races. Okay. Let's see here. Racism and stolen resources are Black people. Yes, you're correct about the housing situation. Okay. At least I'm right about something here. Again, this is a preliminary report. YouTuber says 90% of the land is owned by 10% white people, while 10% of the land is inhabited by 90% of the Black people. That is absolutely correct, sir. Absolutely. Thank you for touching this topic. Money to pay and return the land resources. Okay. Yes, if you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, family. Please hit that for me. I do appreciate your support. Okay. We're just highlighting some things here, family. Again, this is my first day, so take what I'm stating here with a grain of salt. The YouTuber says here that it's the same in Nigeria. And unfortunately, it's like this in many of the African countries, okay? Most of Africa is not all dominated by non-Black people, foreigners, okay? Yeah, give me 1 second, because there is a video that I want to cover with you guys. Just bear with me here. I'm gonna see if I can play this. The internet over here is not too fast if I was at home, but I'm gonna try to find this video to share with you guys. Let me see here. All right. Give me 1 second. It's about a 3 or 4 minute video. I think it would be, let me see here. All right. Okay. Well, no, I might have to hold up my phone Give me 1 second. Hopefully you guys can hear this. And my phone is about to cut off. Yeah, I had a long day, family. Very, very long day. But let me see what I can do for you guys here. Bear with me here. 1 second, 1 second. If I didn't take all these food pictures, I would have been to it by now. All right, give me 1 second here. 1 second. Almost there. All right, let's try this one out. No, that's not the one. That's the second one. Let's do this one.
And they make him affordability.
But why do you believe most South Africans in poverty?
In poverty.
Yeah, why do you believe that? Why do you know that?
Because I come out of a community of poverty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I stay amongst a community who are there in poverty. Because there's no benefit whatsoever,
Right,
for the people of Cape Town. Because mostly of all these places where people going to overseas, people come and visit, even we don't even own it.
you don't own it.
And that's so sad.
Let me see if I can get this straight for you guys. How do you change it?
The only thing is mindset.
Mindset?
Mindset. That's the only thing. You must empower your people and you must teach them and educate them that they can know.
Do the white South Africans today? Hold on. Sorry, family. I'm trying to landscape this thing for you guys. I guess I'm just do it like this. Majority of the businesses here?
Yes, definitely.
Do you believe they will give them up? Let me rewind that.
Never. They will.
How do you change it?
The only thing is mindset.
Mindset?
Mindset. That's the only thing. You must empower your people and you must teach them and educate them that they can know.
Do the white South Africans, do they own majority of the businesses here?
Yes, definitely.
Do you believe they will give them up?
Never. They will fight for it.
Right. So how do you believe that black South Africans can ever be on the same economic level, making the same amount of money, owning the same amount of business? How does that happen?
No, it's difficult. It's difficult to answer it.
Yeah.
It's difficult to answer it. I think we got a similar situation.
So again, family, I have to put to package that a lot better for you guys, but you get the gist. I was just anytime I go to a different country, I ask a lot of people about the economic structure, the political climate of the country, because I think things are important that we learn how other melanated countries are essentially dealing with the system of white supremacy. Because the system of white supremacy doesn't just, exist in America, but is worldwide, right? We have 8%. We have 8% of the 8% of the population in South Africa that owns 90% of the land and the resources. Okay, so again, a lot more to cover here. I'll be here for about 2 weeks in total, so I have a lot more coverage to get here. But other than that, family, I'm jet lag as hell. I'm gonna read some of your notes and I'm gonna get out of here. Okay. Let's see. The YouTuber states here they will drag it out for many years to come so that they can use the same rhetoric they use in America. They don't want to return stolen land and resources. Of course not. Of course not. Totally understand that. But anyway, guys, you have a great and wonderful day. And of course, I see you guys on the next ones. Peace.